So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a demonstration, and then I'm going to turn over to our case study presenters who are going to finish off the rest of the session tonight. So I hope that you're writing questions in the chat, and we're going to come back to those questions very shortly. Okay, so now I'm going to great, excellent. So we've got nearly 600 members signed up to the Smart Forum, says Monica. Thank you, Monica. It's a big community of users. So if you want to become a part of this user group, it's one of the biggest that I know of for any software tool. And Monica's dropped in the link that you can use to sign up. So that's fantastic. Thanks, Monica. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in to Smart, and I'm going to do a little overview of what it looks like. And for this demonstration today, I'm using the actually a demonstration version of the Small Gobi conservation area, which is the site in Mongolia, in southern Mongolia, where SMART is being used by the Ministry of Nature, Environment and Tourism. And I'm just going to show you a demonstration version of that database. I don't have any real data to show you. I don't have access to any of that data. That is securely stored on the server that belongs to the ministry. I'm just going to show you an example of some data that I've created for the purposes of doing our training tonight. So this is what it looks like when you log into the SMART software. You see a screen with a map. It's like a little GIS window, and that's exactly what it is. So SMART has a GIS component to it that allows you to create a base map and create the information that you need to visualize information, to visualize track logs, to visualize waypoints that are recorded by people in the field. So we can also see along the top of the screen that there are different windows. So we're in the conservation, we're in the navigation window here. When we go to this window, we see the patrols. And these are the patrol records. And so if you double click on one of these patrol records, we see, and you can see that this is Mongolian language because that's one of the operating languages of SMART. So we can see here, this is a record of a patrol that was done from a particular ranger post, and this is the leader of the patrol. And in Mongolia, sometimes the patrols are one person or two people because they have very, very few people on staff. So we're seeing here the records of the patrol, the observations that were made. It's possible to record information on a smartphone. We're going to learn about that in 2 weeks' time, how we use Smart Mobile or Cyber Tracker to collect data. So out there in the Gobi, the rangers, the anti-poaching unit rangers are out there using smartphones, and they're collecting data using Cyber Tracker. So we can see a map showing where the data is coming from. Let me just get to the map there, moving it around here a little bit for you. Okay, so should be a map. Okay, so there's a map showing the track log of the patrol, and we can see where the rangers went to, and we can zoom in and we can see what happens. So in this particular patrol, the rangers went in from this post out here called Hanbok, and went in probably by motorcycle or maybe by a vehicle, four-wheel drive vehicle. They went out here and they went into the core zone and they came out. So the patrol data looks like this, and it's possible to create queries and summaries of data. And here are some examples of what we call the queries and summaries. You can do basic analysis. So I can ask the question, where were camps encountered by the patrol teams? Where were wildlife carcasses detected? Where were human activities encountered? So for example, here is a query about human activities encountered by rangers in every month. And we can create a query that is called a patrol summary query that has columns and rows of data. And in the body of the table, we have what we call the X values. So we can set these queries up, and then all we need to do is to run the queries with the particular set of data that we're interested in. So we can set the date to last month or last quarter or last year, and I'm just going to run all of the data that I have in this particular database, and we can see these are different types of human activities. This is in Mongolian. Unfortunately, I can't show that in English with this particular query, but I'll find another one to show you that's in English. So this is human activities, and this is the number of those activities that was detected by the ranger teams in these months. Let me show you another type of query, which is a patrol query. This is a query about patrols that were done by the ranger teams. So maybe we want to know where the rangers went to. Where do they go? Where are their track logs? So this particular type of query will return a track log or a set of track logs that show where the rangers went to in a certain time period. So this is now running through all of the data. In fact, there's a lot of data to go through. So I'm just going to show you, hopefully this will come up in just a moment. Once it comes up, it's going to show me a map with the information on where those patrols went to. While that is running, maybe I can go to another query. Okay, there it is. So I just did a query on patrols completed, and there were 343 patrols that were completed between 2016 and 2020. And here is a map showing where those patrols were. So these are the track logs of the patrols. And so each of these rows in the table is an individual patrol, and it has a track log. So we can instantly see what's going on, and we can also look at what's happened in different time periods. So this time I'm going to run a query on last year's patrols. And when I run a query on last year's patrols, I get a different map. Okay, so now there we go. So there's the patrols that happened in 2020. Okay, so queries and summaries. So the manager can be asking questions that he wants to or she wants to have answered, and the manager would have somebody designing the queries in SMART, what we call an analyst, and that person would be the person who is trained to design the queries and the summaries. And to learn how to do that task, it takes us about 5 days to do the training. So if you want to have the full training to understand how to design queries and summaries and also to design reports, at least the overview of how to create a report, it takes us 5 days. So there's actually a lot of material that needs to be covered. And that gets me onto the last thing that I'm going to demonstrate for you right now, which is that SMART can create reports. So you can design reports for different purposes. So for example, maybe I want to have a report on last year on where patrols happened and the efforts that were made by rangers and the wildlife that was detected in the protected area. And so I'm running a report that I've actually created. It's a model report that I just created for the purposes of this training, but it hopefully will show you an example of what's possible. So inside SMART, there's a little software tool called BIRT, B-I-R-T. I'm not sure if anybody has used BIRT before, but BIRT is the operating tool that allows us to design formats for running reports. And here is a little demonstration. This is not a real report. This is not real data. Just to reiterate that, this is just a demonstration for the training today. But here we have the Small Goby SPA monthly report, and there's a map showing you track logs of patrols. And here is the efforts that were made by different rangers, the distance that they patrolled last year, the numbers of days that they were on patrols, the species of wildlife that were observed. Here we have goited gazelle and hulan, Mongolian gazelle, argali, and ibex, and human activities that were detected. So this is just an example of what a report can look like. It's a very simplified version of a report. And our users around the world have sometimes very sophisticated, very informative reports that tell them lots of information. So it's possible to design your report inside the SMART tool. You don't have to go outside and format it in Word. You could do that if you want to, but you don't need to. Okay, so that is a very brief overview of the SMART software. And like I said, if you're interested in getting the full training, it can take a few days. But over the next few sessions, we're going to give you overviews of SMART and teach you some of the core tools and approaches that hopefully will get you interested in learning more. And if you are interested in learning more, then we are very interested to hear whether you might be interested in joining one of our training courses. And we have partners around the world, like I said, the 9 organizations that are part of the SMART Partnership. We are running trainings in different countries, different regions, all around the year. So there may well be a course that you can join, or we can create a course for you, and you can join a training. Okay, so that is a very broad brushstroke look at SMART. And now what I'd like to do, and keep those questions coming in because we'll get back to the questions at the end of the session. Now what I'd like to do is to introduce some of our speakers who are going to tell us how they're using SMART at their sites.